Hey, Wildcats. Today we're looking at Wednesday, April 24th, dividing polynomial functions, page 76. If you would, update your table of contents. Okay, now your table of contents are updated. Let's take a look at the notes. Dividing polynomials on page 76. Dividing polynomial methods. Method 1, factor. Method 2, long division. Method 3, synthetic division. Okay, if you would, update your notes. Now your notes are updated. Let's take a look at the examples. All right, dividing polynomials on page 76. Example 1. So method 1, you want to factor. So let's try to factor example 1. So we know two parentheses for the numerator. Now, there's nothing we can do with the x minus 3, so we're going to leave it as x minus 3. Okay. Now, we know in order to get 3x squared, it has to be 3x and 1x. Okay. Now, the next thing we need to do is find all the combinations and make a positive 3. Now, because the middle number is negative, both terms must be negative. So we know that negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3, and negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. So that's the only combinations. Now, here's where it gets a little more difficult when the number in front of x is something other than 1. We need to multiply 3 times this term and 1 times this term to see if we get negative 10. So we're going to try 3 times negative 1 plus 1 times negative 3, which equals, looks like negative 6. So that doesn't work. Now we'll try 3 times negative 3 plus 1 times negative 1, which in this case is negative 9, negative 1, negative 10. So that combination works. So since we're multiplying 3 times a negative 3, the negative 3 needs to be right here, because that's how you'll multiply 3 times negative 3. And so the negative 1 goes here. Okay? So you'll notice that, and I forgot the division line here. Okay, and actually that might be hard to see, so let me just try to use a darker pen here. That's a division symbol right there. Okay, now you'll notice here that this divides and becomes 1, so you're left with 3x minus 1. Okay, all right, so now let's take a look at example 2. Now, example 2, and let me factor, and you know what? That black didn't really work out as well as it could have. Let's try to use orange for the division symbol, okay? So this is the division right there. So we're going to factor the numerator by grouping. So it looks like we can factor out a 1x squared, which leaves 1x minus 3. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 2x minus 3. Okay, now looks like we can divide both of these by negative 4, so we can factor out a negative 4, which leaves 2x minus 3. Okay. Now here, to factor the denominator, we know that 2 parentheses. Now, in order to get 2x squared, we know 2x and 1x. And probably need some space here to do that work. Okay. Now, we need to find all the combinations to make negative 6. So we know that negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. And again, the difficulty, we have to multiply 2 times the first term and 1 times the second term to get a positive 1. So let's try the first. So 2 times negative 1 plus 1 times 6, which is a positive 4. That doesn't work. So now let's try 2 times negative 2 plus 1 times 3. Well, that's -4 plus 3 is -1. That doesn't work. So now let's try 2 times -3 plus 1 times 2 is 2 times -3 is -6 plus 2 is -4. But wait, I notice here that I get -1, but I need a positive one. So I'm thinking, well, it looks like I went through all the factors, but I didn't because I could have also done a +2 and a -3, okay? So because we know 2 times -3 is a -6. So now let's try that combination. So 2 times 2 plus 1 times -3 is 4 minus 1, which is 1. So that's our combination that works. Now notice we multiply 2 times the +2. So the +2 goes right here, and the -3 would go right here. Okay, so now we're going to group these together. So that's 1x squared minus 4 times 2x minus 3 divided by, I'm going to go ahead and put the 1x plus 2 here and the 2x minus 3 here. Okay. Now the numerator, it looks like, can be factored, so we're going to need to factor the numerator just a little bit more. So 1x squared minus 4 is 1x minus 2 and 1x plus 2 times 2x minus 3. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 1x plus 2 here and the 2x minus 3 here because that divides in 1 and that divides and becomes 1. So you're left with 1x minus 2. Okay, go ahead and finish up example 1 and example 2. All right, now let's take a look at example 3. Now, you notice in example 1 and 2, I showed you factoring. So in example 3, let me show you one where synthetic division works best. Okay, so first off, you need to set x minus 3 equal to 0. So when you do that, x equals 3. So the 3 goes right here. Now you take the terms in front of the exponents, so the 1, the -2. You'll notice that we're missing x squared, so a 0 x squared, a 3, and a 1. And so you understand, so that's 1x to the 4th minus 2x cubed plus 0x squared plus 3x plus 1. Okay, so now in synthetic division, you bring out the first term, then 3 times 1 is 3, -2 and 3 combined to be 1, 3 times 1 is 3, 0 and 3 is 3, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 and 9 is 12, 3 times 12 is 36, 1 and 36 is 37. Okay, now whenever you divide the exponents decrease by 1, so this was x to the 4th, now it's x cubed, so that's 1x cubed plus 1x squared plus 3x plus 12 plus the remainder, 37, divided by x minus 3. Those lines are terrible. Let me see if I redraw that here. All right, example 4. So now I showed you one within that division. Let me show you one with long division. So this would be 2x plus 1 divided by 4x squared minus 12x plus 9. Okay. Now, the first thing you ask yourself is, what do you multiply 2x by to give you 2x or 4x squared? The answer to that is 2x. Okay. Now you multiply 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 1 is a positive 2x. And I really shouldn't have put the positive sign. I'll show you why. Because now at this point, you subtract. So you subtract here and subtract there. So that cancels. Negative 12x and negative 2 is negative 14x. Bring down the plus 9. Now you ask yourself, well, what do you multiply 2x by to give you negative 14x? The answer to that is minus 7. So negative 7 times 2x is negative 14x. And negative 7 times 1 is negative 7. You subtract, so that becomes a positive, cancels, and you're left with 16 as a remainder. So the result is 2x minus 7 plus 16 divided by 2x plus 1. Okay, so if you would, go ahead and finish example 3 and 4. Start working on your assignment and have a wonderful Wildcat